Good evening, everyone. Hope all of you are keeping healthy and are safe. I'm Sudhiti Srivastava, and today, with joy in my heart and purpose in my talk, I'm very glad to be the host for the evening along with my colleague Kali Rawat. Now, we all know the National Handloom Day has just gone by, and it has stirred indeed many important conversations. Conversations which will lead to a positive and actionable impact on the lives of the artisans and weavers in India. Conversations which will also set a pathway for the younger generation to embrace what truly belongs to them. And around these conversations, we noticed, we listened, and we heard the questions the younger generation was actually posing. The question was, how do we become the part of the cause? Can we take the risk at the very beginning of our careers? And by taking these risks, does it mean that there would be no guaranteed paychecks by the end of the month? Now, these are no easy questions, and that's exactly when brands like Suta come at the forefront, bravely telling their stories, settling smoothly as role models for many, and setting the much needed example in today's world, giving us a glimpse of hope and strength to follow our dreams. With this, I'm very happy to open the webinar, and I warmly welcome Sujata and Tanya to take us through their journey of Su and Ta. Over to you, Kali.
So one is Su and one is Ta. Sujata is the brains of the company, and Tanya confesses to be the heart. And their beautiful synergy and their talents blend together in this wonderful amalgamation of the brand that you all know and love as Suta. So before we go on, a couple of facts about our marvelous duo. Uh, Fact is, both of them don't have a formal training in design. They have super smart degrees from IIFT and IIM. Another fact is that they're both risk takers. So they left their cushy corporate jobs at companies like IBM, and they decided to work for the greater good of weavers and women weavers across the country. And the third fact, and a very interesting one at that, is that the business model of Suta is brilliant in its simplicity. They are looking to provide affordable, comfortable, wearable saris to women all across the country, which are priceless and timeless for generations to come. So with this, I welcome both of you, Sujata and Tanya, and the floor is all yours. Please do tell us a little bit about your wonderful journey.
Thank you so much. So we will take you through a little bit of our journey, and we'll talk about the 4 years we have officially spent on Suta and the unofficial 2 years. When we were working in the corporate, we realized that we didn't actually impact the society as we had wanted to or we had dreamt since our childhood. And we also felt that there is a need or there's a gap in the market, and we figured that both of them come together really well, like our names, like Sujata and Tanya. So we figured that it means thread, and it was like a big, like in universe is saying go ahead, and
Yeah, we knew that this is it, and we have to quit and we have to start because Suanta means thread.
So yeah, so that's why that was one of the biggest reasons that we felt really driven that we should do something for the betterment of the society. And when we actually went to a village and met the weavers, we figured that there are a lot of unstructured methods that is followed in the villages. There are still middlemen. There are still head weavers who actually take a cut of the work that somebody does, and we figured that we could probably come in, create a very good supply chain, create a smooth supply chain so that everyone is benefited at the end of the day. So as I'm sure you guys know about the varied crafts and art in India, and that's what, or it's such a big marvelous thing that we also should be celebrating. For us, don't even come from this background, so for us it's all the more fascinating. We feel everything's like magical, the way people spend and make an embroidery piece or even just do a Patachitra drawing. It's so beautiful. It's just spellbound.
So yeah, that is the reason why we started So on social impact, and then the gap that we saw, because we also met so many people who kept saying that I do not know where to wear a sari. I don't have an occasion to wear a sari. When I wore one, which was my mom's sari, they said, "Is it your birthday today, or are you having a special date night? You know, because you're wearing a sari." And
yeah, we realized that it's not celebrated as it should have been.
Yeah.
We have seen our mothers and our aunts, grandmoms, everyone wearing sari regularly, and even like celebrating sari as if it's
and you feel
regular.
so wonderful wearing one, right? So we thought, why not make it a regular thing back again? Why not youngsters wear it, because they look absolutely stunning wearing one. So that was also one of the reasons. And then we thought that handloom people always assume that it's expensive, and the soft sarees are gone.
Yeah.
We didn't find it anywhere in the markets.
Yeah, so so I'm sure you guys know, but there is still, we find that there is a lot of misconception about the method by which a product is made and the fabric itself. So a lot of people think any cotton sari is handloom, and a lot of people think any soft sari is a handloom, you know, and all handloom saris are supposed to be cotton and not polyester. So there is a lot of misconception, and we are still fighting to clear it. And to be honest, when we started, we also didn't know a lot of things. As we are learning, we also feel like this idea of mindful shopping and celebrating art and crafts of India, these things are going away slowly. I would not say thankfully COVID has done it, but to be honest, COVID, we have seen a lot of change that has happened. It has naturally occurred that when people have started spending time in their own houses,
seeing the positives in COVID now. So this is one of the biggest positives.
This is one of the biggest positives.
That people have started mindful shopping, and they started becoming aware of what they're buying, why they're buying, from which brand they're buying. Are they having ethical practices or not? Because you can see there's so many unethical practices that brands follow.
So a lot of people don't understand sustainability is just not celebrating the fabric or the process. It's also about celebrating humanity, right? So if something is not releasing probably carbon footprint, and it's very good for our, our living, it also should be seen that the person who's making is also equally, rightfully paid. So there's a lot of things that make sustainability as a full thing, and a lot of people ignore one thing and make sure that they are just doing one of the other thing, and they feel, oh, I'm sustainable.
For example, I'm buying a handloom sari and taking it and wearing it in my house, putting the AC on throughout the day with windows open, and my practices are not sustainable, but I'm just wearing handloom and promoting it. So the entire process, we wanted Suta as a brand to talk about it, and as a brand we also should empower more people and make them aware, especially our employees and viewers, that what we are doing are all ethical, and probably we make people aspire to do that too.
Yeah, and through this process, we have also realized that Suta as a brand touches a lot of young lives, and we are so happy that our target age group is 25 to 35, and young girls, especially like who just finished their 10th and 12th, even just finishing the graduation, they wear a sari for graduation. And earlier days, what used to happen is a lot of young girls would not even know that the handloom sari or in any sari can just be a light, and could be a lounge wear, could be a party wear, and they would always treat sari as a wedding wear. Just there's a notion in the mind, and we wanted to break that. There's a lot of things as a brand we wanted to break away from, and we try to always talk about body positivity, we talk about sustainability, we talk about a lot of things which actually Suta is as a brand, and we're happy that we are small, it's a small step we take from every angle, but we are slowly making a community of our own.
Yeah,
and we call it Suta.
In fact, we started doing this thinking that even if we touch one life, even if we make one person follow what we personally wanted to follow, our aim is achieved. One step at a time we started taking. As she said, Suta Queens is what we celebrate the most in Suta.
And we also try to, when Suta Queen we're talking about, we also try a lot to talk about our inspirations, where it comes from. We do get inspired from nature, and it's a very cliche thing. A lot of people say that, it's a nature inspired collection. This is spring and this is from the summer collection. And, we are inspired from the summer colors. But to be honest, sometimes it's not just colors for us. It's also about human emotions. For example, for some collections are called, the saris are named as passion. For us, passion is a certain color. Love is a certain color. And that's what we try to celebrate in day-to-day life. I think small things, little small things around us, if you try to value them, they become special. And then you don't have to really search for bigger happinesses. These small happinesses should be celebrated, and that's what we do at Suta.
And again, we didn't mention what Suta Queen is.
Okay.
Suta Queen is whoever is a Suta customer, or even if they're not Suta customers, because
If they follow the philosophy probably, or just this alignment with our thought processes, a Suta Queen is what we call them.
And we started putting all the pictures because we loved seeing them. And initially in the beginning, me and Sujata used to handle Suta, Instagram, social media, in fact, on our own. And we used to go through all the pictures at the end of the day, one by one. And we used to be so happy that people are loving what we make. And they're inspired by the stories as well. And they go through all the stories that we write on the website. So we think that if every product you make is valued the way it is, then I think our job is half done.
Also, this reminds me the National Handloom Day. What we did is we launched a collection called Aapke Naam, and we wanted to dedicate each one of the sarees to the women who make it. The way we had planned it, we wanted the women of the Suta family to feel really empowered. We have never really thanked them and gone and really spoken to them of how much they impact, even if they know that we always are very thankful. So we wanted to actually give them, it's like a token saying your name is up there. And these women have been the backbone of Suta. These women have joined us really long back. Though we have a 1,500 family, so if 60% is women, you can imagine so many women are there in the family. But somehow, we try
you
to
won't
push
believe the happiness on their faces when they actually saw that their names are on the website and the sarees are selling so well and people are loving it.
Yeah. And also we got a lot of talk around handloom happening, because how much ever people feel handloom is should be celebrated. We should buy a lot of handloom sarees because there are no carbon footprint, but there is always a misconception about it that it's a very heavy saree. So we got a lot of questions which we felt that we should be answering to. A lot of people said that handloom, is it not very coarse? Some people thought Calcutta handloom is supposed to be stiff, but a lot of things that the idea that it's a starch sari, if it's not starch, it would not be hard. So these kind of things and misconceptions need to be cleared around the word handloom.
Okay.
Yes, sorry. I remember Sudhiti talking in the beginning about how it's important for entrepreneurs, a young student who really want to start their own business. How do they do it, or do they just jump in it? So we wanted to probably touch upon this before, if you have any other point about handloom.
No, I was just talking about the women that we work with and the pay structure that we follow, because that is quite important when you, when she's talking about entrepreneurship, this also comes into play. We wanted whoever joins Suta to be really happy to be working with the kind of environment we provide, and even the weavers, they should be really happy giving. I should not say that you just work on this design because I know it's gonna sell. They should be happy making it.
Yeah, so we really sat with them. Yeah, we sat with them in this collection and we sketched it together, to be honest. And when they said that, "Nahi, madam, green ki jagah red dalo, acha lagega," we accepted that. So those kind of work we do.
We keep doing this. Plus, we always saw that the salary is going to the man's account. We made sure that if the woman of the house is also working, it should be divided between the two of them. Not that the family is not together, or
it's not to create a division.
It's just that feeling of empowerment, because a lot of families, they again, the wives or the mothers have to ask money in the end of the month, saying that, "No, I want to do this with this money," and again, give explanations. So when we saw that the women of the house is putting the tags, we made it in a certain way that they get the money in the end of the month for just putting tags or washing and ironing. So these processes we streamline, and it has become such a beautiful model now that so many women have joined us, and we know each of the employees now. And
that also creates a lot of stickiness in the family, because the entire family is working together, and it's a very beautiful family, we call it. I call it a Suta family.
And now 60% of the weavers are women, which is really amazing.
So coming back to the point, which because we spoke about the back end and how we work with the weavers, we also would like to talk about for a young person who's starting it, or for a young entrepreneur, it is very important that at least thinking it from the employee's point of view is first and foremost, it's most important, because without a proper structure of staff around you or workers around you, you'll never be able to grow, because then somebody will just quit, and then you are relying on there's nobody else you can rely on or depend on. So it's very important to create a beautiful team, and that's the reason we're talking about how we try to empower each one of them, whoever is working with us. The one more point which we always stress upon is making a plan. I'm sure it's again a cliche which people think, oh, sab log wahi bolte hain, make a plan, stick to it and all that. I'm not asking you to stick to any plan, but you should have a thorough understanding of where you see yourself at least 1 or 2 years down the line. Just make if you are starting an e-commerce site, or I'm not talking about just e-commerce site, if you want to have just a service industry, probably just put a target of how much you see, when you want to see, and if you have a target in mind, what all you have to do. So that will give you a lot of goal. And when you get a goal from at least the next month, you at least can break it down to today's goal. That's how you'll break down your own work, and that's how you'll know if that has to happen 6 months down the line, what I have to do right now. So that slowly and steadily you'll reach there. And
yeah, because sometimes what happens is when you are good at something, you focus on that thing and you leave the other part. Like if you are a designer and you think that you can create beautiful designs, then you just stick to that part and leave the rest.
Marketing probably to somebody agency or someone.
So you hire or you outsource it, all the better, because now the systems have formed in certain ways that you can outsource so many of the business aspects.
So yeah, these are the very important points which need to be considered. And I'm sure we'll just keep the floor open for questions to come in on on business or entrepreneurship, and we'll be happy to handle if you have any doubts about it. Thank you so much, guys, and we had a lovely time talking.
Thank you so much. That was brilliant, I would say, and beautifully said in a short span of time. So I am now going to move over to the next segment, which we call the rapid fire round. And what we would like you to do is answer in a couple of words or a couple of sentences, whatever works for you. Because it's COVID time, we don't have a hamper. I'm so sorry. But as soon as COVID's over, Pearl will figure out something for both of you. So I'm going to handle the first 4 questions, and I'm going to ask Tanya. So Tanya, are you ready?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, great. Tanya, name a celebrity who would be your biggest brand ambassador.
Oops. A celebrity who's a big brand ambassador. I would name someone who is a big fan of Suta and who is personally admires Handloom a lot. She's Mithila Palkar. She's young and she represents, the youngsters follow her. And she has been so amazing all the time. The first sari she bought for herself and her grandmother. And so, yeah.
Okay, great. What is the first word that comes to your mind when you hear the following words? So the first is the current state of handlooms in India today.
Current state. Very scattered.
Okay.
But I think that it's going in the right direction because there's COVID and people are, the weavers, especially the handloom sector, they are upskilling them technologically and reaching out to the right people. So yeah, scattered, but going in the right direction still.
Going in the right direction. Super. What about if I say women weavers?
Women weavers, empowered. They are becoming really smart with the technology advancement. Their kids are helping them a lot in teaching them. Yeah. So they are not sitting at the back end and, slogging and not reaching out to the right people. But I think since in Suta also it's 60% women weavers and artisans. So I would say, yeah, empowered.
Okay, great. And the last part of this one is heirloom textile.
Heirloom textile. Oh, um, I would say that I think India is the Indian. Each and every Indian crafts and traditions can be called an heirloom textile because we can pass it on from generations to generations. So we should celebrate it more and educate our younger generations better.
Okay, super, Tanya. So my next question to you is, which a lot of Suta queens will be very keen to hear the answer, I'm sure, is what is the best accessory to wear with a Suta sari?
Smile all the time.
Super, super. I think that says it all.
Wear a sari, you become automatically transported to someone else, and you're the happiest version of yourself. I personally do. I enjoy a lot when I walk in a sari in a movie or a pub or anywhere else. So
Yes, it changes your whole carriage, right? It changes your posture and everything. Absolutely. And my last question to you, Tanya, is who, according to you, rocks the sari like nobody else?
I can only all the time say Sujata. I'm the photographer, and because what happens for me is we write the story, we create it from scratch, and then she portrays it the best way because
Super.
of the story, and I think
It's embarrassing, you know.
You have a fan there.
Yeah, but she keeps saying, I can't see you all the time and you on my computer all the time. So yeah.
But I think whoever is a Suta queen, whoever I've seen personally, because you can see our social media pages, you see
Yes.
pictures, they look like these gorgeous women who are really, strong and out there doing their own thing in their own way so beautifully that I feel like putting all the pictures on the website because they're so amazingly draped.
Yeah, a lot of women did it so beautifully. It's so beautiful to see.
Very true, very true.
That's my answer for this one.
Okay, thank you so much. Sudhiti, do you want to take the next set?
Yes, I want to, and I'm very excited. I hope you are, Sujata. I wish we had a timer and a hamper, but okay. For now,
Your timer, please.
go with what we have. Okay, Sujata, shall I begin with the first question?
Yes.
Sustainability in fashion, an impossible dream or an achievable reality?
It's 100% achievable reality. Really, really, I feel. Because I see a lot of brands coming together and I'm working really hard and doing it. So I'm just saying, go, go, go. You know, like to all the brands, let's just go and do it.
I agree with you there. The second question, interesting one. What fashion advice would you give to your 16-year-old self?
So it's a process. Fashion is really a process. Don't really go by the trend. If you in your heart you really feel you look good in something, just go with it. Do not ever compare yourself with anybody else. If you really like yourself in that cloth or in that piece that you're wearing, wear it.
Wow, thank you. That's some advice. Okay, so if you were to buy one thing tomorrow, what would it be?
I really want to own a Patola silk sari. Don't have it yet. Don't have it in Suta as well. I really love it. So that's my next biggest aim. I'm not a shopper at all. Everything Tanya buys for me. Literally nothing. Never online shopping, not even offline shopping. So yeah. But if I have to buy, I'll buy that. It's in my big list.
Great. And the last question, and I think one of the most important questions coming for Suta, define a statement sari for us.
It's any classic sari is a statement sari, like a classic piece, which knows no bounds. So for me, a statement sari is just a simple red, like a bold red sari is for me is the sari. I think the bold red color sari. I am not talking about border, tassels, nothing. I'm just talking about just a red color. It's a statement sari, I think, for me.
Thank you, Sujata, for being so spontaneous. I really had fun. I hope you did too. And the students who have joined us here today, they are really excited to interact with both of you personally. So I will invite the first student for the day for our question and answer round, which is Akansha Gupta. Akansha, you can switch on your mic and you can take your question ahead. Akansha, can you hear me?
Yes, hi ma'am.
Hi, Akansha, go ahead, take your question.
Yeah, hi ma'am. It was so nice knowing about your journey and your great inspirations. So I had one question from you guys. I mean, I've read all the collections and they're so unique and inspiring. Every collection has a very nice and different story. But one collection that like I really felt the most was the collection Fallen Sitara. And I want to know how much do you actually resonate with the collection story in your personal life? Like you speak about how a woman, she slips and then comes back up and has a crown. So how much do you actually resonate with this concept in your personal professional life?
Such a nice question. Such a deep question, Akansha. Really happy that somebody, I like it when people read it and then come back to us with a question. In every phase of our life, we have gone through one or the other insecurity. It talks about insecurities. It talks about vulnerabilities. It's also about celebrating your vulnerability, because what we really felt that at any one point of time in our lives, probably when I was 12 or probably when I was 17, I had some or the other issues, and that issue has not really made me weak. Maybe that time I was feeling really weaker, but then when I crossed that hurdle, it makes me stronger, and that's what we wanted to celebrate. Because be it because of your body size, or be it because of your mental issues, because of your anxiety, probably you will go through a lot of phases in your life, but you again come back, learn, and just come back and start accepting yourself as you are.
And even if you don't cross the hurdle, like if anxiety is a trouble, accepting yourself the way it is what we wanted to talk about in this collection. And if we have color selected a color for certain anxiety, or say body positivity, then just wear that color and be yourself and go out there. We wanted to talk about that, and people have resonated with that so well, and thank you. You also have gone through it.
So to be honest, we have gone through a lot of phases ourselves.
Personally, also we have gone through most of the phases actually,
and we don't get a way to talk about it. And if you see that in our sarees, we talk a lot about how a particular phase in life has a color. So me and Tanya had a lot of discussion on it. So for us, how one of the sarees will be red, something will be green, invisible sitara would be a white, like things like that. A big sitara would be a blue or a black. So that's what it was in our mind, and that's why we have named the saree like that. I hope we answered your question, Akansha.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Akansha. The next student, Shivani, you can switch on your mic and ask your question, please.
Hi, ma'am.
Hi.
Okay. So I was going through your collection day for yesterday. So I ordered 2 sarees which my mom liked from Aapke Naam. So can you tell us about the latest collection Aapke Naam?
Yes. Hi, Shivani. So Aapke Naam is a collection which is dedicated to the weavers and craftsmen in Suta. And one of the reasons why we did Aapke Naam at the time we did is because we wanted some of the collection money to actually go to weavers who have suffered in Assam. And to be honest, because of people like you, because you guys are shopping and you had got such amazing response, is the reason why we are able to give a substantial amount to the association. So we are really thankful to all of you, and we are happy that it's the time when we launched it and we could help people with the money we earned through the collection.
Yeah, that's about Aapke Naam, and then all the sarees are handloom in that collection. And this collection we sat through, as we said, with the weavers to get their ideas on the colors and the patterns, and they have a lot of inputs in the designing part.
Thank you, Shivani. I hope you have got an answer to your question. Sharvari, it's your turn. Please switch on your mic and ask your question.
Yes, ma'am. So I have a question for you, ma'am, that how do you make your brand stand out in this young generation, and how do you keep your customers engaged?
Thanks, Shivani. So, Sharvari, sorry. So, how do we keep our customers engaged is what we think is, if I am a customer and I look at a brand, what do I like about a brand? What we feel is if a brand will just talk like a person rather than just being like a black box who I can't really reach out to. If I'm just writing a comment, I don't know I'm getting an answer to, or they're understanding what I'm trying to say. I would not like a brand like that. So we built a brand which is very, very open and transparent, where people could just write to us and we will reply, or even we could just talk to them as just two people who found the brand, so that they understand what background or what kind of thought process has gone into for the creation of the brand, and the brand talks like us.
So the brand has a face, literally. You can identify Suta as a person, and speak to the brand and not speak to a wall. And some customer care is answering constantly with all the robotic words. So that's how we wanted the communications to be, and we have managed to achieve that.
And regarding the marketing, you spoke about how we do our, how we spread words. Our Suta Queens, who who are our customers, we call Suta Queens. They are our brand ambassadors, to be honest. Apart from obviously the actors and actresses and people who buy saris, there are a lot of doctors and IS officers and women from varied free field who come and buy, purchase our saris and wear the sari and talk about our saris. That's what make a lot of difference. And we felt that probably a neighbor telling me that the sari is good will have more impact than probably probably Aishwarya Rai wearing and saying, oh, ye sari pehni hai, this is a good sari. So that's what we felt, and always we felt that word of mouth is the most powerful thing, and we really believe in that, and that's what has kept us going. Sharvari, I hope this answers the question.
Yeah, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thanks, Sujata. And Tanya, it was such an insight. I mean, you got me there when you said that you actually treat it like a person. That's a very, something that I've not heard before, but something which will resonate with me. Palak, your turn. Go for it.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, so I came across one of your interview with the Tribal Box where you spoke about stereotype. So did you ever let any stereotype kill your confidence? And if so, what was your take on that?
Thank you, Palak. Yeah, you answer this question a lot. I know a lot of people say, you guys should say you are entrepreneurs and not say you are women entrepreneurs. And as much as I would like to just say I'm an entrepreneur and not use, a lot of people say, why is women card used so much? To be honest, it's not about using women card, or it's not we just want to talk about women all the time, but we women know, right? We feel prejudices somewhere or the other. So yeah, we have felt it a lot of places. And there was a point when we literally broke down, is when we really got cheated. And later on, we heard that the vendors saying that, अरे वो दो लड़कियां आई थी ना, उनको हमने ये दिया है. So we felt that just because they thought that young girls are here and
they thought that it's just a one-time transaction they would have. So yeah, let us make as much of profits as we can and cheat them, because they would not come back, they would not sustain. So these kind of prejudices when someone has, if I had my probably father or some man coming along with me, or I will look, if I look more mature and more serious probably in my life.
I don't know what, but then they just feel that
these kind of prejudices, when it comes, it really hurts you and haunts you. We still have those fabrics left from then, because we had invested a lot of money and we wanted to make skirts out of it, but the length was shorter when we came and measured.
So they gave us shorter length of the fabric, and the entire lot was a waste.
So we cannot even think that I have to measure it when you're cutting and get it back home,
because we're not taught, to be honest. I know a lot of people think khud khareedte to maap lo.
It's such a silly mistake.
But we just felt that you can just trust a person, right? So that's what we felt, and we got cheated, and we were really hurt.
But then we realized that not trusting is also not the solution.
Yeah.
You have to trust people and let it go. And you will find loyal people in your lives and not be always cheated.
Yeah, we can't be just held back by something which has happened once to us. To be honest, we have an amazing team, an amazing set of vendors for us who are really trustworthy. With just one phone call, without money, we just sometimes transact, and sometimes we pay and then they ship the thing after many months. that has also happened. So yeah, we are lucky and sometimes we are unlucky. So yeah, I think there are prejudices, but we have to grow over it.
Thank you, ma'am.
So Kriti, I can't hear you. Sorry, your voice.
Sudhiti, you're on mute.
My bad, sorry.
It's okay.
We have Rashi for the last question of the day. Rashi, please go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, my video is not turning on. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
Yeah. And ma'am, it was so nice to listen to you, and your story is so inspiring. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Started out as just 2 members in 2016, and by now you are more than 1,400 members in just span of 3-4 years. How did you expand your brand so quickly?
Thanks, Rashi. So we were a 2-member team, and we went 2014 when both of us started. By 2016, we were 3 in the office, and we had 2 weavers, so 5. And we took a lot of time from 2 to 5. And it was such a long journey for us. But then from 5 to 1,500, it was quite fast.
Quite fast, yeah.
I think it is because we first was trying to test a lot of water, and we were just not letting our cards on, and we are not scared, but we wanted to be very careful.
Because we didn't want to take people on board and then later say that, I'm not able to support you any further. So whenever we took one step, we took it with a lot of caution.
Yeah.
We made sure that the pay structure and the work ethics that we follow is always right. And slowly, so many people started joining us, and they wanted to join us because of the practices that we follow.
Yeah, I think if you keep your practices and your heart and mind are right, like I want to do this and achieve that, and that's why in the end of the conversation before, I spoke about how you should be planning your journey properly, and that's what happens when you plan, right? We decided that from starting from 10 orders a day, we will reach 20 orders, and we said probably next month we'll reach 50 orders, and then 100 orders, and now it's 300 orders, and then 400 orders. That's how it grows, right? Per day it becomes, you put a target and then make sure to achieve the target, what all you have to do. So for, let's say from 100, if I go to 200, I have to make sure so many saris reach us. There should be so many people supporting to be able to pack those orders and ship. The logistic company should know about us. There should be enough team members to handle the refunds if there are more refunds happening because there are more orders. Small things, small little things.
And also if you want to increase the production, how many loans you need to add, how many weavers, more weavers you need. So
yeah,
these are
and how many launches will you do for that? If you need more orders, you have to do more launches. So many more stories for Instagram and everything. Just when you just calculate and step back and just look at, if my aim is that, what all I have to do, I think you will get an answer. And I know all the time you can't be successful when you have a plan, but if you just keep at it, you never know. Some, few months it has happened that we had planned for 70 orders a day and we literally reached 100 orders. So we have seen those days. So yeah, you just never know what good might come out suddenly, and you keep working hard.
Yeah, I think keep working hard towards your goal, and whether you reach it or not reach it, I think
working hard matters.
Yeah, working hard matters.
Wow. Does that answer your question, Rashi?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks.
Okay, super. So actually, Sujata and Tanya, we had to really fine-tune and reduce the number of students. There were so many who wanted to talk to you, but since we had time limitations, but I hope that in the future, once COVID is over, you guys will be okay to come down to our campus and meet our students. I think they would love to see you and speak and interact. Yes. So thank you so much. I just want to say that I want to thank you. I learned a lot from this webinar, and I want to thank you personally for bringing the cool factor into saris. I think that's really important. And when students have role models like the both of you, I think in your honor, I think I wore a sari today too. So
you look really we saw it.
So thank you so much. And before I close this webinar, I do want to sort of leave all of you with a thought, which is about sustainability. Now, sustainability is not a fixed concept. It's in fact really fluid, and it can be as disruptive, it can be as creative as you want it to be. So like Sujata and Tanya mentioned, you can imbibe sustainability through your processes or through an ethical supply chain process, or through recycling, upcycling, so many different ways. Sustainability is not a trend, as Sujata and Tanya have been telling us. It's here to stay, and it's a responsibility. It's your responsibility as well as mine. So with that note, thank you so much. Thanks from the bottom of our hearts, Sujata and Tanya, and we hope to see you all again really soon post-COVID. And the hampers are on us, I promise.
Thank you so much. It was such a fun
really
session.
lovely.
Thank you, Sudhiti.
We had a great time.
Thank you, Tanya. Thank you, Sujata. And I'm really, really looking forward to meet you and Reshmi for helping us conduct this.
Thank you,
webinar.
Reshmi.
I'm really hoping sometime we all can get together, have that cup of coffee, and then bring you in campus to meet more of our students and more of our co-faculties. We really had fun, and despite our share of glitches, we really had fun. It was great to connect with you, and I'm sure that this association of ours is only going to grow in future. And we wish you all the best. All the very best.
All the best. Thank you.
All the best for the kids as well. Yeah. See you. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you, guys. Bye.